Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. Democracy cannot survive when one side believes there are only two outcomes to an election. Either they win or they were cheated.
Day after President Biden's primetime address highlighting the threat posed to American democracy by extremist MAGA Republicans, the president held a meeting at the White House with a coalition of civil rights leaders, many of whom had declared their own state of emergency for this country's democracy earlier in the week. At the meeting, the leaders discussed voter suppression efforts, threats posed by white supremacy, criminal justice reform, and also Brittany Griner's detainment in Russia, among other issues. Joining me now to discuss, Mark Morial, the president and CEO of the National Urban League. He was at the meeting with the president. So, Mark, bring us inside of the room.
Hi, Julie.
What was your meeting? Hello. What was your meeting like with the president? What issues did you focus on? And what assurances did you get from President Biden that he is going to actually do them?
Thanks for having me, Zerlina. It was an engaging, robust, lively conversation about the issues you've already discussed. The central feature of the meeting was a discussion about democracy and voting rights. And I think the president, in his speech the night before our meeting, had reaffirmed a commitment we were looking to hear. And that is a commitment to battle until hell freezes over and then fight on the ice for the protection of American democracy, for the protection of voting rights. So we wanted to see the administration do everything in its power in the midterm elections to protect the right to vote, to ensure that voters and those that are seeking to turn out the vote and elections officials are not intimidated, that they would bear the full brunt of, if you will, the federal government's power to protect the integrity of the voting system. But then secondly, a commitment to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Bill and the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act after the midterm elections. As you know, those two bills, which were central to our agenda, got stalled in the Senate because of the filibuster. So importantly, I believe we heard a strong commitment from the president. It was what we were looking for, but we'll continue to work with the White House and continue to hold the administration and all elected officials accountable to our community.
On the 59th anniversary of the March on Washington, you, along with other civil rights leaders, some even in those shots we were showing there from outside of the White House, you declared a state of emergency in terms of the threats to American democracy. I mean, lay out those threats as you see them. You obviously went into the meeting with the president outlining all of these threats on a list in terms of what they needed to address and prioritize. But when you think about the larger problem of the integrity of elections and democracy more broadly, you know, what are the threats as you see them?
So think about it this way, Zerlina. Going all the way back to 2008, you had the beginnings of the effort to suppress the vote, stringent voter ID laws, the gerrymandering of state legislatures in the 2010, 11, and 12 reapportionment period, the effort to overturn key provisions of the Voting Rights Act in the courts, which was successful by the right wing in 2013 with the Shelby v. Holder decision, the Russian interference and the Russian suppression in the 2016 election, the continuation of voter suppression, voter dilution, gerrymandering, and then when you get to 2020, you see violence. You see violence being carried out to interrupt the processes of democracy. A wake-up call, an alarm bell, a loud, loud fire alarm rings. So American democracy, its institutions, from access to the ballot, to fair counting of the ballot, to the drawing of lines, have been threatened by this reptilian, if you will, effort, this sinister effort to undermine democracy. And we fight for the right to vote, and we fight for democracy because without it, we are not at the table to impact whether it's education, whether it's police community relations, whether it's economic policy or criminal justice reform. We got to be at the table, and the way we're at the table is by protecting the right to vote. That's the case for all Americans. So this has been a long effort, and it It is now the time for all people to stand up and protect American democracy.
Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.